Massive Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm James Pendleton, and today we're going to be talking about the transfer window. January window's just finished now, earlier in the week. Yes, another window where Everton didn't do much business, where they changed manager, where some players left, more players left and came in once again. Yeah, the last few Januaries have been pretty quiet, apart from obviously in the dugout. Sean Dyche came in January, so did Frank Lampard. Ancelotti came in sort of middle to end of December. It's always a busy period for Everton, but in terms of signing, since we had that window where we did El Ghazi, Van der Beek, Dele, Patson, Mikalenko, which obviously didn't go very well. Since then, we've basically done no business in January, so there's no surprise to see that by deadline day we still haven't signed the player. Obviously, Carlos Alcaraz comes in the end. That seemed to be pretty much sealed, probably maybe 2 or 3 days before the deadline. It was just a case of getting him into the building, medical, etc., etc. And then obviously a couple of players left. Harrison Armstrong went on loan to Derby. I think that's a brilliant move for him. Going to a team who obviously be fighting to stay in the division, but I imagine they probably will. I imagine he'll play a lot of football as well, which is good. Derby fans seem quite infused by him. Obviously, he's still an unknown quantity, really, isn't he? No one quite knows his best position or his best role is going to be. He's played sort of 300 minutes of football for Everton, had a couple of decent cameos, but his main kind of performance was against Peterborough, where he got a really good assist, got player of the match. Chuff for him there, and that was obviously a brilliant moment for him. But yeah, I see a lot of people saying it's not a good move for him, and I disagree personally. I think he's going to a manager like Paul Warne, who has a decent rapport with young players. Obviously, Lewis Dobbin went to Derby, did well, came back, played first team games the season after. And ultimately, you look at the academy and it was Dobbin, it was Cannon, it was Gordon, it was Sims, and all of them, Gordon aside, went to lower levels to begin with. Sims was at Blackpool in League One, Dobbin was obviously with Derby in League One. Obviously Tom Cannon left the club in the end. Spent time Preston, of course, obviously they're in the Championship too, same with Gordon. So Gordon and Cannon both went to the Championship, and obviously Gordon's gone to be a £40 million player. Tom Cannon sat here having cost teams 20 odd million already, so they were clearly the best options from the academy, and they went Championship level. So I think it's fair to say that it's good news for Harrison Armstrong, and obviously he's going there at 18 as well. Those lads went there when they were a little bit older, so certainly Sims and Dobbin, but when they went to League One. But I think it's a good move for him. Really pleased, and it's one to watch for sure. I mean, whenever a player goes on loan, I've had a lot of players go on loan the last few seasons. I'm always trying to keep track of seeing how they're getting on in terms of they playing, they're getting goals, they're getting assists, highlights, etc. So let's see what now on the end of the season brings for Harrison Armstrong. But it's always exciting when certainly an academy player comes through, and when they're from the local area, it makes it even better, doesn't it? Really good stuff. Stanley Mills also left. He went to Oxford on a permanent deal. He was actually at Oxford, I think it was last season now, just thinking back, I think it was last season. I don't know if that's where he got injured. I think it probably would have been, and then he came back and he's been out injured for absolutely ages, over a year out, I think. So great to see him get back to fitness, but he's 21, 22 now, so a bit like someone like Mackenzie Hunt, who was out on loan from Everton, and then he was involved in the first team squads, etc. But he was always getting a bit old, and he probably never going to quite make the grade. He's gone to League Two at Fleetwood, doing quite well there this season. Obviously now a full international of the UAE. So let's see what happens to Stanley Mills. It was always interesting. I think he may have had a chance to be a squad player at some point, but I think people kind of inside the club are saying he probably wasn't quite there. And now he's obviously left. He's in that kind of bracket of Isaac Price, who's gone to Standard Liège, played 50, 60 odd games for them. Now he's come back to West Brom, and he's obviously making a new start there. So he's doing really well, great to see. And let's hope Stanley Mills does that. Let's hope he can get into the Championship, kind of upper echelons, get into the Premier League. See how he does, that'd be really good. But you'd imagine he probably won't quite cut the grade and make it as a top level professional, but that's absolutely fine. That's what the academy's all for, isn't it? Seeing which players get through, some do, some don't. That's how it goes. Obviously, in terms of incomings, Carlos Alcaraz came in. It was announced, I think it was last Thursday or Friday, that there was going to be a deal for him. Crazy. I mean, I can't remember the last time a transfer went through the selling club or the club who were loaning them out. I can't remember the last time I seen that where they made the first move and basically said it's happened. The Athletic came up probably about an hour later saying it's not done, but it wasn't like they were sat there saying people at Everton have got no idea why this has happened. I think Everton knew why it happened because the deal was basically done, and they just jumped the gun a little bit, and that's all it was. I mean, look, it's interesting for me. some people quite like Kevin Thelwell, some people don't. It all comes down to opinions. But I think the way I look at it is no one is inside Everton. No one knows exactly what's going on. And I think it's just so hard to judge the job he's done negatively based on where we've been the last few years. And people are saying, well, you have to put a deal sheet in for a player who looked like he was signing on Thursday or Friday and get to Monday and he's still not there. And it's like, yeah, but what would you rather happen? I mean, we don't know what's happened. I think people were saying it was to do with clauses and, whether Everton were going to have to buy him at the end of it, basically. And it just winds me up because I sit there and think, well, okay, you could have got the deal done 8 hours before, maybe. But maybe that would have to be a massive compromise for Everton, and they would have had to say, okay, if he starts 10 games, I have to buy him for 20 million quid, which you say if Everton get a couple of injuries and he has to keep playing, and it's like, what if he's absolutely garbage? We don't know, do we? So, I think in the end, it's 15 million if he makes a high number of starts. That was what was being banded about on Mondays. It has to be a high number of starts. So let's see what happens there. And they signed for about 15 million as well. So it's not like a brilliant deal for Flamengo. It's them getting their money back, assuming he does well. And if he does well, then we sign him. Yeah, well, what's the big deal? The deal was never in jeopardy, basically, is what's come out. We were linked to the left back from Rennes. He was desperate to try and get a striker, but he couldn't find anyone. And ultimately, we've won the last 3 games. We're well above the bottom 3 now in terms of points. It took us 19 games to get 9 points earlier on in the season, and we are now 9 points clear of the bottom 3. Still got to play Saints at home, still got to play Ipswich at home, Wolves away, West Ham at home, Man United at home. These are teams who were around. We've got Palace in a couple of weeks as well. They're obviously doing well at the minute, but that just took all the pressure off them. And why would we go and panic buy? I feel like sometimes fans want us just to buy someone for the sake of it, and it's like, well, no, we're not in that position. And even if we could do that, why would we? Because we've done that before, and it ends in tears every time. So, yeah, as I say, people will judge Kevin Thelwell how they want. I saw a tweet the other day saying he's been here 3 years, he's not signing a right back, get rid of him. And it's like, well, yeah, but he came to the club and we had the club captain at right back. He did sign a right back in Ashley Young, who's been one of our best players this season, so that's obviously wrong. Obviously, he's coming on a free transfer as well. I would imagine relatively low wages. David Patterson was here before he got here. He's the kind of player everyone says needs to play, and then he doesn't. It doesn't really work. And ultimately, that's 3 right backs, and you got James Garner there who can play right back. So you got 3 right backs and an auxiliary player who can do it, and you've got Roman Dixon in the academy. Why would we go and sign a right back when we've got no money? We've got no wiggle room. Why would we sign a right back? Like, it's these things people have to go with him for. I just can't get my head around it, because I think he's not going to go and get his 6th right back in the squad just because he's better than what we've got, because that could then send us into financial disarray. We needed someone like Carl Zagros who can come in and play on the wing, behind the striker, or up front if really necessary. You can even play a little bit deeper, I'd imagine, as well. That's the kind of player we need to sign, someone who can go and do a few different positions. He's super exciting as well. He could come in and be really, really good, and if he keeps starting and then buying 15 million quid, perfect. What a great deal this could be. It's super low risk as well. After a few games, if it looks like it's going to be a disaster, then I'm sure Moyes will stop persisting with him, so it's one of them. But it's a discussion with Thelwell, because obviously his deal comes up at the end of the season. It looked like he wasn't going to be staying. Now it looks a bit more up in the air. Let's see. Personally, I think he's done a really, really good job. Being the director of football is not just signing players. It's working on the academy. It's working on the structure of the club. And Everton have, from what I've seen, in terms of teams who've been in the Premier League since he arrived in 3 years ago, Everton have got the lowest net spend and have stayed in the Premier League. Like, at the end of the day, asset stripping and taking all the quality out of your team is what gets you relegated. We've seen it a million times before. Sunderland went down because they sold players, and the players they brought in were nowhere near good enough. Villa sold all their best players and they were replaced with youngsters who didn't flourish into Premier League football, certainly not right away anyway, and they end up going down without a whimper. It's like, this is what happens time and time again, and it's because of the work of Thelwell and Dyche that Everton have stayed up to this point, and now it's the work of Moyes to build on that, and obviously the work of the Freakins to improve it and give us more money to work with. But again, I'd like to discuss with people. People want to talk about Thelwell and say this, that and the other. It won't be without his fault, of course. It won't be, he's a human being, of course not, but people complain about, obviously, he always goes after the same players, someone like Wilfred Gnonto. Well, yeah, but maybe Leeds, the deal they can do with Leeds is a good deal, and he's an exciting young player who can future-proof the squad. It's not like we're going out and buying 28, 29-year-old Cheng Toshin who'll come in for 6 months, do okay, and then that's it. it's like Yannick Bolasie, who's 27, 28, and he'll come in and do all right for 6 weeks, 6 months again, sorry, and then he's gone, and that's it. It's not Theo Walcott, who's 30, 31, way past his best, comes in, does okay for 6 months, and then he goes again. They're the kind of deals we have been doing. I'm not doing that anymore. Look at the team on the weekend. Obviously, Pickford was still here when he arrived. He bought Jacob Brown this summer, who obviously Dyche probably wasn't too keen to use in the way Moyes used him. I'm sure he would have been fine to bring him in at centre-back, given time, but Moyes has put him in now. He's flying. He brought in James Tarkowski, who's played something like 105 of 108 games or something ridiculous. I saw the stat probably about 6 weeks ago, so it's probably changed slightly. Obviously, Branthwaite's in there. Mikalenko's already there. This is the team for the weekend. Gay came back under Thelwell. James Garner came in under Thelwell. These are players that everyone really likes, by the way. Yes, Williamson came in under Thelwell, who's going forward now, doing well. Obviously, Decore was here, and Ty's coming under Thelwell. Beto's coming under Thelwell, who, 6 days ago was a flop. Now you're starting to think, wow, we could have a good player around here. Jack Harrison came on. Now people I don't really see eye to eye with him, but only on loan, it's not a big deal. He's filled the squad, space in the squad. He did quite well last season. I thought he was quite unfairly treated, but he really fit the bill last year. And is obviously not quite worked this year, but you've got Lyncham there now, another player who's brought in. You improve on players you've already got. That's how you build a squad. Ashley Young came in. He's done really well this season. Did fine last season as well. But up until Van Dijk's left, he's probably our best player this season, along with Pickford. So it's crazy. And then whoever else came in on the weekend, there was another one because I've seen the stat. Ira Booman was the 10th player Thelwell has brought in. He's coming on the weekend in a 4-0 win. And that's when you start to think the team looks really good. And you've still got players like Breuer and Chimiti, who obviously aren't fit at the minute, but they're players who, they excite me. Breuer excites me. Chimiti excites me. I personally think from a signing perspective, there's been a lot of hits. Some misses, obviously, Vanagra, but again, on loan. He was championship quality player. He's gone to Hull, or he was at Hull last season anyway. And only had to bring him in for cover, and Dyche didn't use him because Mikalenko stayed largely fit. And when he didn't, it was Young playing there because Vanagra probably wasn't good enough. But he's working with hands tied behind his back. Dan Jr. came in. Dyche didn't use him. He's now playing the Championship. Drone, who's scoring goals to start the season for Villarreal. It's like he could have been a really good player, just didn't quite work under the manager. Loads of things going on, but I just think on surface level, there are things that you can really like and there are things that you maybe don't like. And the things that are really good, you got to take with a pinch of salt and say, maybe there's a bit of luck involved. It comes down to who the manager is it joined up thinking, the manager's working separately or whatever. That's fine. And things that look really bad, you can take with a pinch of salt and say, well, maybe not signing Carlos Alcaraz on Monday when you don't need to and waiting 8 hours and bargaining and trying to make it a better deal for Everton. That is the exact thing that we need to do and we haven't been doing. I'd be very surprised if behind the scenes it was because Thelwell's not been reading his emails or something and someone's come through. I'm sure he is working super hard. So, yeah, if this is to be his last transfer window, then I think he's done a very, very good job at Everton. And I hope in the next 2 or 3 years we can bear fruit of that in terms of players who've come in under his stewardship and have done well for Everton, keep doing well, can be sold for profit, we can make money, and whoever replaces them brings in players for cheaper, they get sold, etc., etc., etc. That's the way I can hope. But I personally think he's done a good job so far, and I'd like to see him continue, but let's see what happens. I'm not too sure. David Moyes and him are going to maybe quite see eye to eye, but obviously that all remains to be seen. But the main thing is, playing the FA Cup this weekend, let's get through to the next round, let's stay in the Premier League, and we can all enjoy the next couple of years, hopefully anyway. So let me know your thoughts on the transfer down below. Let me know your thoughts on Kevin Thelwell, the players he's brought in, the things he's done at the club. And if you were to want to see him leave, who do you want to see be brought in as his replacement? Let me know down below and we'll see you next time. Nice one.